Hello, amazing, beautiful people. Welcome to our Raw Vegan Heroes live stream for March 8th, 2024. I couldn't be more honored and privileged to have you guys here on our Q&A live stream for this Friday. This is the Raw Vegan Heroes live stream. Every Friday, this is where we gather for healing, to learn how to self-heal, to get out of our isolation, get into community. This is a powerful hour that every single one of you should utilize for your healing, for your sacred journey of self-discovery, self-actualization, and self-mastery. Because look, we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. No one ever transformed alone. No one ever healed alone. Healing our consciousness, healing our mind, body, and soul for our lifetime here on planet Earth requires that we get out of isolation, everyone. That's what these live streams are for. So all of you who are on right now, welcome. We've got 30 people on to start this off. So great to see you all. A big hello to every one of you amazing, beautiful souls. I see you guys. I see how incredible you are. I see your hopes and your dreams. I see how empowered you want to be. You're making efforts to be empowered. And I'm here as your fearless leader on this journey to help you find the highest level of your empowerment. Because after all, we're all doing this together. Some of us are further along on the journey than others. And so if we are further along, we have to lend a helping hand to those in need. And this is the power of the Raw Vegan Heroes community. Giving and receiving feedback is one of the fastest ways to healing and transformation. And I don't just mean healing our health problems, everybody. I mean healing our consciousness, healing our lack, our isolation, our self-hatred, our self-abuse, our low self-esteem, to where we can rise to the highest level of our potential in this lifetime. Our 2.0 upgrade, that's what we're all after, our 2.0 upgrade. I see you and I wish that for you. And that's my prayer for you. Can I bestow a blessing on you right now? A 2.0 soul upgrade. Yeah. This week's theme for our live stream is how to heal yourself. Isolation versus community. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about isolation for a second, everybody. What is isolation? Isolation is the devil's playground. Isolation is where we stay in pride, right? Isolation is where we are in ego, right? Think about Jeffrey Dahmer and serial killers. They're in isolation in their own mind. They've cut themselves off, walled themselves off, right? That's the darkest, most extreme version of isolation, but there's a whole spectrum of isolation where the ego has control of us and we don't realize it. This is why we're struggling. This is why, okay? Because we're in pride. Our ego convinces us that we should be alone. We've got to prove it to ourselves that we can do it alone. This is the lone wolf syndrome, and it is no virtue, trust me. The lone wolf syndrome is us saying to ourselves, I've got to do it alone. I've got to. That's stronger. It makes me stronger to do it alone. When in fact, the lone wolf syndrome makes us weaker. It makes us isolated. And no one ever healed themselves alone. No one ever transformed alone. No one ever created success alone. No one ever built a company, a vision, a movement alone. Think about the civil rights movement of the 1960s here in the United States for equality amongst our citizens here. Was anyone doing that alone? Obviously, movements, mass movements of awakening require unity of our consciousness, right? We can't let our ego convince us that the lone wolf syndrome is the way to go. Okay. What else about isolation harms us? We can't see our blind spots. We all have blind spots. Okay. We all have blind spots. That's just part of being human, part of being alive. But the problem is when we can't see our blind spots, we convince ourselves we don't have any blind spots. And that's where we have to be humble enough to get community support, mentorship, coaching, get out of our isolation so others can give us feedback. Part of the power of community is and I'm going to talk about this in a second, is giving and receiving feedback so we can see our blind spots. If we're in isolation, there's no way to see our blind spots. We can look in the mirror, we can talk to ourselves, we can try, but we can't. That's the power of having a coach to show us our blind spots. So my question to you is this topic showing you a blind spot? How your isolation is your ego and your pride telling you that you have to do it alone? Is your ego telling you you have to do it alone? Because that's probably the weakest thing you could tell yourself. It's the weakest stance you could take, and it is contributing to your health problems, your lack consciousness, your low self-esteem, and just not being that 2.0 upgraded version of yourself that we all really, really dream of having. Okay, so you can't see your blind spots in isolation, big one. Also, isolation keeps us in non-action. Because if we're in our own head, if we don't have others to pace with, track with, if we can't see our blind spots, we're in non-action. We've convinced ourselves that the action we do take is enough when it's not, because we don't have the results we want, and we descend and we descend and we descend. And if we descend dark enough and far enough, we're going to end up like, really psychotic, psychopathic, sociopathic. That's where it leads. Isolation leads to sociopathic behaviors. It also keeps us in fear. Isolation keeps us in our fear. It keeps us in stuck emotional patterns. All right, now let's talk about community. Hey, Raw Vegan Heroes community. Let's talk about community. What does community offer, everyone? The antithesis to isolation, the healing, the solution to isolation. Community offers witnessing, being seen, being acknowledged for who we are, just being acknowledged. There's the saying, the child who is not embraced by the community burns it down. When we do not have the witnessing and the acknowledging, we want to burn it down. We want to self-sabotage. Okay, so I need you to examine yourself. I need you to examine where you have self-isolated, where you feel like burning it down, right? Do you feel like you don't belong in our society, in planet Earth, on planet Earth? Do you feel like you don't belong in certain aspects where you feel resentful? This is your own self-isolation. No one is doing that to you. No one is self-isolating you. That is a you problem, okay? And that's the lone wolf syndrome. You need to be hyper aware of your lone wolf syndrome and how it plagues your life, okay? What else does community give us? It gives us the opportunity to give and receive feedback. This cannot be underestimated. I'm going to say it again. It gives us the opportunity to give and receive feedback. This is leadership. When we give honest, direct, disruptive feedback, it allows us to step into a role of leadership. And when we receive honest, direct, disruptive feedback, it can break lone wolf syndrome patterns. It can break egoic patterns of the mind, the emotional patterns that we get stuck in that keep us in a lower vibration, a lower self-esteem. Okay, so giving and receiving feedback is very, very, very critical. And everyone here in the Raw Vegan Heroes community needs to exercise and practice giving and receiving feedback. It's not optional. I'm saying it to every single one of you. If you have not given feedback, direct, honest, disruptive, truthful feedback, you need to practice it. You need to be kind, okay? But you need to practice it. Like raising a toddler, like a parent teaching a child, a young child, okay, we give a young child direct, honest, disruptive feedback because the behavior of the young child can be going off in directions that's not ideal for them. And we can see that as adults, right? They're going to run off a cliff, or they're going to put their finger in a light socket and electrocute themselves. Those are obvious examples, but also mental and emotional examples of how we get out of alignment. The parent's role with a young child is to give direct, honest, disruptive feedback to keep us in line and on track with our 2.0 upgrade to have a positive, fulfilling life that matters and means something, where we can contribute and have fulfillment, which leads to happiness, which leads to being a leader, which leads to our vision, our legacy, leaving our legacy on this planet, contributing to making the earth a better place than how we found it. When my life is done, when Shane Sterling dies, planet Earth will be a better place than where I found it in 1973 when I was born. Why? Because I'm committed to giving disruptive, honest, direct feedback as often as I can. I'm committed to contributing in every way I possibly can. And you should too. And that's what giving and receiving feedback gives you and does for you. And you can only get that in community. You can only get that in interpersonal relationships, and it's best exercised with strangers, with people you don't know. That's actually a higher level of development and leadership as opposed to in your family. Okay, it's easy to give feedback, direct, dishonest, disruptive feedback to a child. Okay, it's a lot different to give it to your peer, someone who is your own age, someone who is, on the same path. Are you going to be rude? Are you going to be mean? What are you going to do? How are you going to step into your leadership to give and receive direct, honest, disruptive feedback for truth to help someone else accomplish their best self? Okay, that's a question I'm posing to you. You need to examine that. Also, okay, let's talk about what else is included in community. Celebration, of course, because communities celebrate. They celebrate each other. They celebrate a common vision. They celebrate wins and progress and updates. When we are part of celebration, it takes the pressure off of us, okay? We learn faster in community. We go farther in community. It lifts our burden. The common mission of community is life-changing. We need it. We need to rely on it. We need to prop ourselves up in our 2.0 upgrade, in our pursuit of leadership and contribution and authenticity, bringing our responsibility to the world. We need the common mission. Okay, and that's what we're all doing here in Raw Vegan Heroes community, of course. We have a common mission, health and healing and raw food. So we can see the power that it offers us just here in our humble, amazing community of Raw Vegan Heroes. So I want to honor all of you for being here and investing in, to paying the money to be part of this community, to getting out of your own way and saying, yeah, I do need the mentorship. I need the guidance. I need the community. I need to be around other like-minded people. And let me just share with you, the very highest level of healing is when we create our own community, when we are the ones who lead a community culture. Let me ask you a question. Are you someone who could lead a community culture? Do you see yourself leading a culture? Because that is the highest level of self-healing. Because when we are able to give and receive feedback honestly and create context and space for people to explore their own growth, we become someone who has to rise up to the occasion. We have to rise to the highest level of our leadership, to our own self-healing. So just so you guys know, and I don't know if you know this, but Raw Vegan Heroes has been my healing journey. Can you guys go back in time and see who I was before Raw Vegan Heroes existed? It's actually on YouTube. I was making YouTube videos before Raw Vegan Heroes existed. And so you can go back and see my videos before 2019. Okay, well, let's say 2020 and on. Okay, so if you go back to 2019 videos, you can see who I was before Raw Vegan Heroes. Go check it out if you're interested in my 2.0 upgrade healing transformation. My community led me, Raw Vegan Heroes led me to be the leader, to be the healer of my own self and reality. Okay, so a lot of you might not have any concept of how you could lead a community or whatnot. I'm just saying you don't have to. All right, at your step, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that's the highest level of self-healing, because we can't be in victim. We can't be in our story. We can't be in lack. We can't be in low self-worth. We can't be in any of that, because nobody's going to believe us. Nobody's going to care about our culture. We can't cultivate culture for others when we're in story of lack and despair, you know? So let it wash over you, okay? Healing comes in waves. Healing is not linear, okay? Healing comes in waves. There are moments where we have to feel pain and grief and low self-esteem. Let it come over you. Maybe it lasts a few moments and it's horrible and painful. Maybe it lasts a few days. Maybe it lasts a few months. Maybe it lasts a year. Either way, you got to go through it. Let the transformation wash over you. Let it do what it does. Oftentimes, we're sitting here resisting it. We hold on with our ego and our non-action and our lone wolf syndrome and our pride. Isolation has convinced us we can't see our blind spots. We think we're doing great when we're really doing very poor. And we're in non-action and we're paralyzed by fear. So let it wash over you. Let the transformation, let the eye of the storm come over you, and you can feel the waves, and it's hard and it's uncomfortable, but healing is worth it. And it doesn't last forever. The waves of grief, pain, sorrow, loss, self-examination, honesty with ourselves comes and goes. Let it go. It gets easier as it goes. Maybe your first wave is 2 months and it's horrible. Then it's 2 weeks. Then it's 2 days. Then it's 2 hours. Then it's 2 minutes. Then it's 2 seconds. Okay, like me. Now, at this level of work that I'm doing, supporting people at the level I am, it's only 2 seconds. My stories come and go. My lack stories come and go in seconds. And I don't hold on. It's momentary. It's fleeting, you know, because I've done the personal development work. And just so you guys know, pay close attention to the result of my self-healing journey, getting out of isolation and using community for my self-healing. Both of my programs, Raw Vegan Heroes is a community where I help people with health transformation. And then I have my business mastermind where I help people with financial transformation. Again, another community. We're coming up on 100 people in my business mastermind community. And we have 3,000 people here in the Raw Vegan Heroes community. I've been doing this a lot longer. I just launched my business mastermind. It's a community for healing our financial lack, for understanding how to build community, how to be a leader, how to get out of isolation. So if you are tired of the poor results that your pride and ego, loneliness and lone wolf syndrome and non-action has given you, then there are options. I provide options. Raw Vegan Heroes, my business mastermind, are my communities that I've created as I've upgraded to my 2.0 consciousness. And here I am sharing my perspective from the bird's eye view, reaching out a holding hand, helping hand to you, people who need the help, feel the calling. And I've just maybe been a little bit further along on the journey, you know, and that's okay. We're all on the journey together. I hope that's helpful, everyone. Sending you much love. That's my intro for this Raw Vegan Heroes live stream today. I hope that was helpful.